So yesterday, Sony announced a brand new camera, and this is a pretty big deal for everybody, not just Sony users, but everybody in the photography world. This might be a game changer. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the new piece of equipment that Sony just announced and how it'll affect you. So in the recent years, Sony has really been killing it with their A7 series and also their A6000 series. And they finally produced a camera that's truly geared towards the pro market, like pro sports photographers, nature photographers, journalists, stuff like that. And it's looking pretty impressive to begin with. So I'm gonna go over a few of the new features, a few features that have been carried over from the old ones, and kind of see how they compare. So the new A9 is based off roughly the Sony A7 bodies. It's about the same size, same form factor, all of that. But that's really where all the similarities end. On the back, they have a new touchscreen, which they've integrated with their A6500, which is, I guess, one of their more entry-level type cameras. But it's a new touchscreen for a full-frame camera, so that's a huge step forward for Sony. And one of the big things that they added for the new A9 is they finally redesigned their batteries. With the old batteries, like the ones that the A6000 series and the A7 series use, the battery life was pretty atrocious. Now their new battery, it has double the capacity. It has over 2 times the capacity. You might not see double the battery life because I feel like this camera is going to be a little bit more power hungry than previous cameras, so it'll probably have better battery life. I'd expect better battery life, but probably not 2 times the battery life. So their new sensor is 24 megapixels, and it's completely different from any other 24 megapixel sensor that they've developed before. It's completely redesigned. And this one has the capability to go up to 204,000 ISO, which I might not ever use, but it probably has its place. Like if you're doing astrophotography and you want to get a little bit of focus before bringing your ISO back down, I don't know, it might be useful to you. But one of the huge new features of this sensor is that it has 693 AF points, and they're all phase detection. So 693 is huge. I don't think I've ever heard of a camera that has that many focus points before, and not to mention each one of those focus points has the capability to do autofocus calculations 60 times a second. So you're going to be getting very accurate tracks. Hopefully they've kind of updated their autofocus firmware a little bit so that they have better focus algorithms, because from my understanding, it's kind of been weak on some of the older cameras, but this one looks like it's geared towards pros, geared for sports, so I'm guessing that Sony probably really got their act together with the autofocus. Now, on the video front, of course, they have 4K, but the cool thing about this 4K is it's a full-frame 4K. And not just that, but they also have their in-body image stabilization, the sensor that actually shifts around. It's 5-axis, so you're going to be expecting good video from this. And some of the sample video clips I've seen, I haven't really seen too many, but it appears like they've almost completely solved the rolling shutter issue. This is all thanks to their new sensor, and I'll actually get into their new sensor right now. So one of the great things about this new sensor, besides the new AF points, is that it actually has integrated memory into the sensor. So I don't really know the finer points about sensor design. I'm not even going to pretend to, but it sounds like what's going on is that when the photo's taken, it'll actually collect all of the data into the integrated memory into the chip, and it'll send it out to the processor to get processed. And they're claiming that this new sensor has the capability to output data 20 times faster than the A7 II. So that's a huge step. I mean, 20 times faster is going to help with both the rolling shutter and also just better data rates coming out of the sensor. which is good for 4K video. And with this sensor, it's doing 6K and shrinking it down to 4K. So, they of course need a huge amount of data flow coming out of that sensor. So that'll be awesome. But one of the biggest new features probably has a lot to do with the sensor is that it can actually do 20 frames a second for raw photos. So 20 raw photos at 24 megapixels every second. Now that's not even the best part. The best part about that is that it's blackout free. So one of the problems, like with this camera or really any camera, when you snap that picture, what happens is the shutter goes in front of the sensor and it blacks it out for a short period of time. So if you're shooting at like 20 frames a second, I mean, most of the image, if not all of it, is going to be blacked out the whole time, and you aren't really going to be seeing anything. So this is all due to their new sensor, and I'm not sure how this works, but they have an electronic shutter. This camera actually has two shutters. They have a mechanical shutter like you've been used to on all your other cameras, and then their new electronic shutter. And I'm not really sure how this works, but they have the capability to, I guess, take a photo without a shutter, much like probably the silent shooting of, some of the A7S series and the A6300s, how you can actually do silent shutter on there. However, this one is a little bit different because one of the problems with the silent shutter, just like video, is that when you don't have a physical shutter going in front of it and you're just taking a silent shot, you're still prone to the rolling shutter. So this one does not have that. They say it's something called an anti-distortion shutter, and I don't know if it's like an LCD shutter they have in front of the sensor or how it works exactly, but this is going to be huge, and not just for Sony, but every camera out there, because it looks like a handheld camera, especially a camera as small as a Sony, looks like they're getting pretty close to having either a global shutter or something that's almost imperceptibly different than a global shutter. I mean, it looks like they're getting pretty close. So this will be huge, not just for Sony, but all other cameras too, because we now know that the capability's out there, and it's only a matter of time. Now, the only downfall it looks like to this camera, besides, I haven't really seen the battery life, and I haven't seen any of the really full res raw files from it, so, I can't really speculate yet, but it looks like they don't really have like full on weatherproof sealing on it. They say they do have dust and moisture resistance, so take that for what it is. I don't know if that means it's full on, you can bring this out in the rain. I would hope they've done that, because I think that's going to be the final key to really getting their camera out to the pro markets and really being taken seriously, because this will probably be a huge problem for both Canon and Nikon, especially with this silent shutter. I don't know if you've seen any sporting events or even photos of press conferences with the president. I mean, it's pretty wild when you hear 30 cameras going off at once and they're all clacking at 15 frames a second. It's almost impossible to hear the words that are being spoken. So something like this, a silent shutter doing 20 frames a second, is going to be a massive deal just for photography in general, because you'll be able to bring cameras into a lot of new places that you might not have been able to bring them before, especially something that's this high quality. Now, for the future of Sony, I think this is going to be excellent, because this new sensor, I imagine it's going to be integrated into all of their cameras in the future. I don't see why they wouldn't be, especially when there's huge benefits for, data output of the sensor. I wouldn't be surprised if we're starting to see 6K video coming out soon, and maybe even 8K and beyond. Who knows? I think it'll be huge. And hopefully Canon and Nikon will be, at least following up with cameras of their own, because I feel like Canon and Nikon have been struggling in the sense that they're very careful about the products they put out. They make sure that everything is working perfect and, you know, like it should. And I mean, Canon and Nikon, they're still the pro cameras, but I think Sony is going to start to encroach on that. And I think that this will really force them to at least start putting out products that people are asking for. So I'm happy that Sony put this out. I'm looking forward to, maybe I'm not going to buy the A9, it's just out of my price range. However, I think this will be huge for the cameras coming out in the future, and it'll probably give a nice price drop for the cameras they currently have. Let me know how you like this video. What do you think about the A9? Are you gonna buy it? Do you think it's stupid? Do you think it's cool? Leave me a comment below, and maybe I can answer a few more questions. It's not like all this information isn't already out there already, but you can ask me some questions, leave me a like, and if you want, you can subscribe as well. I try to come out with new videos every week to the best of my ability. So you can see more stuff like this in the near future. So thank you again for watching the whole video, and I will see you on the next one.